Jake Thomas, thanks for coming on the podcast. Could you please begin with an introduction of who you are and a bit about your journey, please?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Owen. So I help people write better YouTube titles. I was a channel manager a couple years ago at a fishing company, and I was really bad at writing YouTube titles. Like I didn't know what a YouTube title was. Um, I was trying to be like clickbaity or like flashy and stuff. And my boss was really good, and he knew the importance of writing YouTube titles, but he didn't know really how to teach somebody how to write a better YouTube title. Um, so I almost got fired, and I asked him about this like a couple years later after I was doing pretty well, and I was like, "Did I almost get fired, or like was it just me?" And he was like, "Yeah, you're pretty close. You're on the chopping block." Um, but uh, but I finally figured out how to write better YouTube titles, and kind of by teaching myself, I figured out how to like teach others as well. So now I have a newsletter that breaks down what makes a good YouTube title, and then also just kind of like shares ideas for people to write better YouTube titles every week. Because YouTube titles, like if you don't write a good title, nobody's going to click your video. So it's so important, and it's just psychology. And like the cool thing about YouTube titles is that they kind of bleed over to like everything. Like if you can learn psychology, you can write better YouTube titles, and you can write better like email subject lines, captions on Instagram, Twitter threads, and everything. So it's really just psychology. But yeah, that's how I got started into YouTube titles.
Yeah, cool. I think that's an interesting thing you said there, that if you can't write a good title, then no one will click. So I'm interested in how you think about how important the title is compared to, say, you hear a lot about thumbnails, you hear a lot about ideas. Also, people talk about positioning, about like how your channel's actually like who you're aiming at. So, yeah, where does titles sit on like the hierarchy, I guess?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything starts with the idea. Um, and, so if you don't have a good idea that it's like putting lipstick on a pig, like it's not really going to work no matter how fancily worded your title is. But it's a way to clearly present that idea in a way that gets people to click. So it's kind of like a door. Like, if no one wants to go through the door, then like, no one's going to see what's inside. No one's going to get all that value you have. So it's really just being I mean, like I don't want to put like a percentage on it, but definitely idea and then title and thumbnail together.
hmm
Just making sure that people like feel compelled to like click right away.
Yeah. And I guess from that, kind of two questions. So first, do you make the whole title before the video, or do you have like a bit of an idea, or do you do it afterwards?
Yeah, I try to always start with the title, um, because so let's say like we're making a video about how to get a six pack.
hmm
So ideally, like you have the idea of like how to get a six pack is kind of the idea, and then what is going to get somebody to click, and that depends on like who this person is, who your audience is, and like kind of what your goals are, and like what time of year it is maybe as well. And then hopefully the intro works with the title. So you might say like how to get a six pack in 12 weeks. So that time frame of like in 12 weeks, people love time frames. But ideally, you'll kind of reaffirm the click and mention in 12 weeks in the intro. Because like if you don't go into this like knowing like, all right, we're going to talk about how to get a six pack in 12 weeks, then someone might you might add that later, and
Mm.
then someone's like, oh, this is like clickbait because like I clicked because I wanted to get a six pack in 12 weeks, but like this is not covering that at all. So just like starting with the audience in mind,
Mm.
and starting with that with a good title helps kind of steer the direction for everything. It might be like how to get a six pack from home, how to get a six pack in 10 minutes a day, and all that stuff will kind of like change a little bit your intro and like just the rest of the content. And starting with that makes life a lot easier, because if you're trying to just like add that at the end, that's where you can easily fall into like kind of that clickbait trap where you're making promises that you didn't really deliver on.
Yeah, so it's kind of about like setting expectations for the video, would you say?
Yes, exactly. Because if you can set expectations correctly, then
People
the audience, when they click on your video, like, it's what they're expecting and it's what they wanted. So they're more likely to stay. So everything is going to work better when you have proper expectations. And it also starts with like knowing what gets people to click. Why would someone click your video? And then so that's kind of goes on, like, it's kind of like the psychology that we talked about earlier, but like, um, and if you can start with that, then your video has a much better chance of doing well.
Yeah, okay. Where should we go next? Okay. I'm interested in, I've watched quite a few of your interviews and I've read your newsletter quite a bit. So I'm interested in what is something that's often overlooked that's actually quite important for YouTube titles that you think people miss?
That's an interesting question. Being clear and simple is one of like the biggest things. Like, because usually when you're scrolling YouTube, and this is mostly for if you're trying to get traffic from like like browse and recommended, so like on the homepage or recommended up next after someone's watching a video. um the people who are kind of in that mode they're not thinking very hard. Like, they're kind of, it's like passive scrolling. So like the title and thumbnail need to be just so clear. If you're trying to rank in search, you can be a little bit longer and a little bit more detailed, because they're actively, all right, this is what I'm looking for, and does this video kind of deliver on what I'm looking for? Does this solve my problem? But if you're trying to get browse and recommended traffic, you really need to be just so clear and really think about who is your audience, where are they coming from, what terms do they know, what's going to catch their eye. So yeah, I mean, clarity is king. Clarity beats cleverness all the time. But a lot of people try to be too clever or too just too complicated.
Yeah, okay. And the thing, I thought I'd lost it, but it came back to me. How much do you think about the thumbnail and title playing off of each other? Because you hear about that a fair amount.
I've been thinking about that a lot more. I so yeah, there's like there's a lot that goes into that. But like, so one thing is, you could have kind of a complex title, and like you want to get, or a complex like idea, and you want to get all these things across. It's like, all right, how to get a six pack in 12 minutes without weights, in 10 minutes a day. Like, that's a lot of things that you're trying to convey. And you can convey, all right, like the title might be how to get a six pack in 12 weeks. And the thumbnail might say 10 minutes a day or something, or like 10 minutes every day. So those are like kind of complementary there. So you can get across a lot of information, without writing 80 character title, how to get a six pack in 12 minutes a day without weights, at home, without giving up dessert, all that other stuff. So I love how I like the best titles and thumbnails complement each other. They're kind of like a 1-2 punch, where like someone sees the thumbnail and then the title is like, yes, like this is what you thought it was, and you definitely want to click on this right now.
Yeah. I guess we could maybe go a bit more into that. Like, how does somebody go about doing that?
Yeah. So when it comes to getting people to click, it's the kind of the simplest way to think about it is the three emotions. Like, so three click worthy emotions are fear, curiosity, and desire. And it's usually curiosity plus fear or curiosity plus desire. So you could think of like just trying to think of different angles and different emotions that you can like mix and match and pair together. So like maybe the title, your idea might be like, how to get a six pack in 12 weeks. So that's like your desire, right? And then the thumbnail, you could add like curiosity. So you might be like, stop doing this. That's like curiosity and fear there, because like it's a warning and it's open ended. Like, wait, stop doing what? Um, and it's especially like if somebody's doing like crunches and you say like stop doing this, that challenges your assumptions because you would assume it's great to do crunches or sit-ups. So that would be like fear and curiosity there, and then your title has desire. So that there you have all three emotions,
Hmm.
and it could be also like how to get a six pack in 12 weeks, and the thumbnail is like and still eat dessert.
Hmm.
So it's like you're kind of like refuting an objection there, like, oh,
Hmm.
I want to get a six pack, but I'll have to give up dessert and life is gonna suck. But like you're coming at it, this is so you're hitting desire twice, but like different angles.
Hmm.
So that's what I would try to think is like, all right, I'm gonna go with these one or two emotions in the thumbnail or the title, and then I'm gonna go like some complementary emotions in the title or the thumbnail.
Yeah, so you kind of don't want to just like repeat the same thing. You want to get across like more information.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I guess it
for the
depends.
most part. For the most part, yes. Like you could, if you want, if it's like the coolest thing ever. So I think it was Patty who said like, there's no boring way to tell somebody that they won the lottery. So like, yeah, if your title is about telling someone they won the lottery, then you might want to repeat it in the title and thumbnail.
Hmm.
But if you're trying to spice up what is not as exciting of a topic, then yeah, you want to kind of be complimentary,
Hmm.
and have kind of some different angles and different emotions in the title and thumbnail.
Yeah, I was thinking more, even like more literally than that. Than if it's like how to get a six pack in 12 weeks. You wouldn't want to put 12 weeks in the thumbnail
For,
again.
sorry, yeah, yes, I agree with you. I think it's like it's just wasted space because you're already getting that promise, so it's you're missing an opportunity by repeating yourself.
And do you have like a background in like copywriting? Because when I've heard you speak, some of the terms you use sounds kind of like, I guess the psychology thing's quite similar, but yeah.
So I actually have a degree in psychology. Um, I don't remember anything I learned in college, but I think it is more just a testament of I've always loved psychology, and I that's just kind of like what I fell into. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but yeah, I love psychology. I've read a lot of copywriting books, and a lot of the books like that you'll read, they were written in like I'm reading one book that's like from the 30s,
Hmm.
and it's Robert Collier's Letter Book, and he's talking about the same stuff from the 1930s. So yeah, I mean, I've read four or five copywriting books that I love, and I continue to go back to those, and that has helped me with YouTube titles a lot.
Yeah, cool. Um, I'd be interested if you have any like kind of crazy results or stories from some of your clients, because I think you probably would be aware of this. Leon Hendricks, he had this video called "How This Homeless Addict Became a Millionaire," and they changed the thumbnail was like the guy had a black shirt on, and then they changed it to orange, and it like instantly like doubled the views per hour.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't have that crazy of stories. Um, trying to trying to think. I don't do clients anymore.
Hmm.
So I did clients when I first started out. I have two of my own channels that are kind of private because they're faceless channels and there's no moat.
Hmm.
So I don't want to get ripped off right away. But with one client, um, they had very trying to say this nicely. Uh, their content, all they did was like the CEO of the company went on podcasts, and so he went on like as many podcasts as he could. So all they did was like just chop up podcast clips, and that was their YouTube channel. And it like this strategy was kind of crummy because there wasn't like a real intro, and like it was just a little weird.
Hmm.
But and like they didn't even have like thumbnails, like they just did like screenshots, and all we did was like I wrote the title to be like a little better, and like we doubled their views on like every video. um and it was same content, same kind of like crummy assets for the thumbnail,
Hmm.
but just by changing words we were able to double their views. And I think that's also like kind of the beauty of thumbnails or of YouTube titles is that it's literally words. Like we're just talking about like 5 to 10 words. If you can get better at writing words, then your views can double or 10x, 100x, just because of words. So like you don't need to, with thumbnails, like you need to have like good assets, like maybe like a good camera or good like graphic design skills. And like to make actual content, like you need to make good content, but thumbnail or writing better titles is the easiest way to improve your channel, and it's literally just 5 to 10 words on your video.
Yeah. So would you say it's worth for people to go back and just improve their older titles?
Yes. Yes. I mean, you can. I've seen it work both ways. I've personally changed older titles and like they just took off after that. But I've changed titles and I've done like A/B tests and I've improved the click-through rate from like 4% to like 7%. And it doesn't always do stuff. So if you have time and if you think a video is good, and you think it's like more people should have seen it and it'll help your channel, it'll help your brand, then yeah, it's definitely worth trying to go back and change some of those titles. But it's also really smart to just get better at making content and better at making titles and thumbnails and like plugging along forward. You don't have infinite time. So if you're really short on time and like and your content kind of stinks a little bit, then yes, like just move forward and in the future make better content and come up with better ideas and make better titles and thumbnails. But if you have time and you're pretty sure that your content is good, then yeah, it might be worth going back and changing some old titles.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say you sometimes got the click-through rate up from like 4 to 7%, but it still didn't really move. I think that, I mean, I obviously don't have all the context, but it could be possible that the idea is like capping the video. So like you said earlier, no matter how much you try and change the title, like your idea is just not really good enough. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, in this case, it was modeled very closely after another good idea on this channel. So I don't think it was the idea, but I mean, but you're right. Definitely could have been, could have been, a lot of things, like we're not working in a vacuum here. And the video, I don't think the video wasn't quite as good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. You're right. There's, it certainly could have been the idea, and there are lots of other things. And I had one of the readers of my newsletter. She's like, yeah, I went back, I changed all of my titles, and she's like, I doubled the click-through rate, and I don't think her content was that good. And like, even though she doubled it,
because it might click.
Everything's still kind of stunk.
Yeah, they click, and then if they click on it but instantly click off, then it's still not great, really.
Yeah, and also, depending on how broad your audience is too. Like, you could double your click-through rate, but like you just have such a small potential audience, and people don't really care that much about your channel and your videos. Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. Like you said there, we're not working in a vacuum. That's what I sometimes wonder when I read the newsletter. Like, if I could see, like, I sometimes do go and look at their channels and their thumbnails like previously, because to me, I sometimes wonder, like, is the title the only reason this is an outlier? Because say they suddenly change and the new thumbnail is way better, then we might accidentally think, oh, okay, this is a great title, we should copy it. But that's not the case. Do you think about that?
Yes, I think about it all the time. That is probably the biggest problem with the newsletter. But I think that if we look at hundreds of titles, we're going to see patterns.
Yeah, well, average.
So, I mean, really what I'm trying to do with the newsletter is just build a big library. And like, okay, I see this pattern every week. I see people are using Curiosity, and like they're opening up a loop to use Curiosity every single week. It's like, okay, well then yes, it could be a good thumbnail, but I see it all the time. So yeah, so maybe it is, maybe that's what it is. But I 100% agree with you. Like, if you just look at one title or one newsletter edition, it might be the title, but it also might be the thumbnail. It might be the idea. It might be because this was trending. Like Mr. Beast's best video is about Squid Games, and like, and, it's not really anything he did. Like he was I mean, yes, it was a good video, but he also rode the wave. So it's not really possible to replicate that. Um, so yeah, I'm just trying to put together a library of trends. So both me as the one writing it and you as the one reading it, and everybody, all the other readers, so we can see patterns. It's like, oh, I see this all the time. I bet this is going to work for my channel.
Yeah, with enough data, you'll see the signal through the noise.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
I think I heard you say this on another podcast that you think you shouldn't necessarily model like the biggest YouTube channels. You should model people who are like a little bit in front of you. And I was wondering maybe if you could go into that more, because I was thinking maybe it'd be best to follow the big guys who are kind of following the quote rules, if that makes any sense. Because we know, I mean, I've heard you mention Emma Chamberlain a lot, and it's like just one word title about like cooking or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, would you still recommend people who are just a bit bigger than you, or yeah,
Yeah. So, man, you beat me to the punchline. I literally just pulled up Emma Chamberlain's videos.
every
Her
podcast?
her last video is stories from my childhood, and then the one before that is Miami and then New York. So the problem with like some of the biggest creators is that they have such loyal audiences. Um, so especially with entertainment, um, people watch those channels for the creator. Like yes, the title and thumbnail help, but but they have such a big baseline of like of loyal viewers. So that makes it tough to model other entertainment channels, and especially like the big channels, because a lot of the times like they are not, their success isn't because of they wrote a good title, they picked a good idea. Oftentimes it's like they just have so much loyalty, and their fans love them so much that it doesn't really matter like what they put for the title and thumbnail. So that's super important to keep in mind, because if you make a title titled or make a video about stories from my childhood, it's kind of a boring title, and nobody's going to care unless they care about you.
Mm.
So that's just like a whole deeper strategy thing that of building love and loyalty from your viewers. And I think there's a ton of value that can be created there, but it's just something for smaller creators, or I mean really everybody, to keep in mind that why is somebody actually clicking on this video. Education channels are so much easier because for the most part people are there for the topic. They're like you'll see way more spiky views, like way more outliers, and videos that kind of don't do as well on educational channels, for in kind of in general. And that's because people are there for the topic, so or how well the title was written. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, you need to be careful about who you're modeling and getting inspiration from. And also consider what you are getting inspiration from. So like if I want to learn how to build a loyal audience, I'm probably going to go watch Emma Chamberlain's videos. I'm going to see what does he do, why do people love her so much, and I'm going to try to study that. And if I'm trying to learn how to write good titles, I'm going to go to like Liron Segev's channel. Like, oh, like, he writes, really good titles. And like, I love the way he uses psychology. And that heavily depends on what niche you're in. But yeah, I think it's really important to consider who you're modeling after. And for the most part, the biggest creators aren't really the best because they have such loyal audiences.
Yeah, okay. So people a little bit in front of you think potentially could be better because they probably have more volatility. You can see like, okay, normally they don't get that many views, but this one really like, hit the spot. So that'd be right.
Yeah. For the most part, yeah.
All right, cool.
Another thing to kind of consider that is like, if you try to model Mr. Beast, like you don't have the same budget as him, right? So you can't make the videos that he's making. Like you can't put a train and like semi trucks, and you can't blow things up and ruin Lamborghinis. So I haven't experienced this, but like I've heard a lot of people complain like, oh man, if only I had the budget. And that's another reason why you wouldn't really want to, like, try to model Mr. Beast, is because you guys aren't making the same videos. Go find someone who's doing a lot with a little,
Mm.
um, who's just using like their creativity to get views, and not money as well, and then try to model them.
Yeah. This next one is quite interesting, actually. I wonder if you consider warm versus cold audience titles, because I came across this fairly recently that people are using it for thumbnails, where for the first few days they'll use like a thumbnail with their face, which is a bit more front and center, so the loyal audience will see them as, oh, I like this person, I'll click. And then once that's kind of saturated the core audience, they then swap for a more broad thumbnail that other people would appeal to, even if they don't know who the creator is. Is there a thing like that for titles?
Um, for I guess potentially. I guess the thing that I'm thinking, like the first thing that came to mind was search versus
Mm.
browse. So yeah, and it really depends on like the strategy of your channel, the strategy of your video. Um, but something would be similar is like if you can make the same video, but if you're trying to rank in search, you would write a little bit different of a title than if you're trying to get recommended on the homepage, or up next. Um, with search, you want to, I don't want to say you exactly want a keyword match, but like you want to try, think about what is this, who's, who is searching for this, and like what are they searching for,
Mm.
and then try to deliver on that desire. But then if you're thinking about trying to get for like get on a YouTube's homepage, you want to think like, how do I maximize the curiosity and the desire and the fear? It doesn't matter quite as much. You don't have to be quite so literal if you're trying to get videos through, or views through recommendations, but you have a lot more leeway. It's also more challenging, but you can build more curiosity there.
Yeah, okay. Earlier you mentioned you've been doing like split testing, A/B testing. Do you prefer TubeBuddy than vidIQ because of that?
Um, so I for split testing, I actually like thumbnailtest.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you have more control. So you can do hourly tests. You can do, which is what I like to do when I first start a video. You can also test more variables. It's going to be a longer test, but like you can test like 3 or 4 different thumbnails, or like which in TubeBuddy, I believe it's just more limited,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more data. You have more, or you get like the data faster in thumbnail tests, and I'm super uh, I'm super like I want to know now.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes like waiting for the TubeBuddy data drives me insane. So I do like thumbnail test better because of the data, and also because of the speed. And you also have you have more controls there. But I love both of them. I've ran hundreds of tests on both of them,
Mm-hmm.
TubeBuddy and thumbnail test, and they're just as good. They do the same thing, but you just have a little bit more control with thumbnail tests. So
Yeah. And does thumbnail test use live data from YouTube? Because I've seen places before where people like almost vote before you even publish the video.
correct, yeah, it's not. It's on YouTube.
Mm.
Yeah, it does use live data from YouTube. I don't love people voting
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't think it's accurate.
Yeah, because it depends on the audience.
Yeah.
I heard you say before that some big channels have like reached out to you before and like asked you about titles, and you've kind of got to ask them a few questions about their processes and stuff. Are you able to share kind of like how some of these big guys are generating titles and their processes there?
Trying to think. Uh, so I kind of, I know like one guy who's coming to mind. He has people. He's got like, I think 2 or 3 people, and all they do is come up with ideas,
Hmm.
and they like present their video ideas to them, or to him. So he has just like a group of people And that's all they do. Like the three or four of them, they just talk about different ideas, titles, and thumbnails. So that's pretty cool. I worked with the client, and they were a very I think they had like 10 or 11 million subscribers, and all I did was A/B test for them. If a video did not do as well as hoped, I would wait for 5 days, and then I would A/B test, um, and that's all I did. And it was worth it for them, because if I get a small increase in views, like they average like 500,000 views. So if I get like a 10%, that's 50,000 views, um, and and that's just like that's a very like kind of small thing, and their videos are evergreen too.
Mm.
So any small change can lead to a ton of views over 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Um, so those were two things, just like the amount of people, like the dedication that people put to titles and thumbnails and ideas, and just the thoroughness of A/B testing and getting things right.
Yeah. I think I heard you say before that you think that Google search prefers positivity versus kind of like fear-based titles. Why is that, and like what's that based on?
That is based on what somebody really smart told me. Um, and Google search is search, like you would never search for 10 mistakes new YouTubers make,
Mm-hmm.
but you would search how do I grow my YouTube channel. So I think it's delivering on what the audience wants, um, and and it's really just like thinking what kind of algorithm is at play here. So is it a search algorithm? So like, do I need to satisfy a desire, or is this like kind of an interruption based algorithm? So like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube recommendations, and the homepage, like you're trying to say, hey, look at me, like trying to interrupt somebody because they're just browsing. um, and that's how you can use kind of that different psychology, where like, I mean, even like on or like Amazon's a search engine, so you're trying to somebody's searching for something, like you want to deliver what they're searching for. On Google, someone's searching for something, you want to deliver on that. And for the most part, people are looking for positivity. Yes, like a warning or like a list of mistakes will certainly grab somebody's attention, but that's not what they're searching for. So yeah, so it just and then also just looking. I think not enough people just spend time browsing. Like when I was when I was at the fishing channel, something I would do is if I was writing a video about like top 10 fishing lures and I was trying to rank in search, I would look up like top 10 hairbrushes, or top 10 makeup brushes, top 10 vacuums, and just trying to see what else was like what type of content was ranking, and then I would try to model that. So I think um, here's my better answer for like the first question you asked, is like, what do people overlook? A lot of people overlook different industries, because you can learn a ton from just thinking about like your content, or you're seeing what works in different industries. Because so we worked for fishing, and I would get inspiration from. So we would I would make a video about top 10 fishing lures. I would look up in finance, like top 10 credit cards, and what did they do? And like, so it might be top 10 credit cards of 2024. So I'd be like, all right, well, top 10 trout lures of 2024. And that would do really well for us. And that was getting inspiration from other niches. And that was what really helped me write better YouTube titles, was modeling successful channels outside of my niche. Because we were in a pretty small niche. We were saltwater fishing in the southeastern United States. So there weren't, and we were education. So there's not that many channels doing educational videos for this specific group of people. So I had to look outside of my niche, and that helped a ton. And then after pretty much just copying other channels, um, for hundreds of titles, then I started to get the hang of, oh, this is actually what makes a good title. And then I could write my own. But I heard a quote from Alex Ramosi, I think it was yesterday. He said, um, replicate before you innovate. I think I'm butchering that, but yeah, like, copy and then innovate. So yeah, replicate before you innovate. I think that was it.
Yeah. And this is a bit cheeky, but another thing about cross niching is that people might think you've come up with the idea because they haven't seen it, because they think, oh, this is something new, but it's just from somewhere else. They don't know where it's from.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of getting inspiration outside of your niche and bringing fresh stuff, because just like you said, you can bring something new, and there's a good chance it's going to work. Like if it works in finance, and if it works in beauty, and if it works in fitness, then yeah, it's probably going to work in your niche as well.
Yeah. How do you think about, and how often do you think it's worth trying to innovate? Would you say it is really after you've done like hundreds of copying other people's, or like if you were to try and step out with a new idea, how would you give it the best chance of success, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's kind of levels here. So like, one is like copying people in your niche. Like, all right, I'm pretty sure this is going to do well because this did well for my competitor, and like, or for my competitors, pretty sure this is going to do well for me. And then there's like copying outside of your niche. So, all right, this did well for this fitness channel. I'm going to try this for my finance channel. And then, so that's a little bit of innovating. Um, and I loved like kind of mixing and matching. So like I would go to my competitors. I would look at everybody's top videos. I would sort them by most popular, and I would find like the 5 topics that work really well. And then I would take those 5 topics, and then I would go to channels outside of my niche, that are like make like similar content as me. And then I would find like kind of the frameworks that work well for them. So like top 10 blank in 2024. And I would take my 5 topics that work, and I would plug in all 5 of those into those successful frameworks. Or like, don't blank until you watch this. So so all I would do, and all the newsletter is doing, is just finding those frameworks so that we can take our core topics and just like plug them in. So that is one way of kind of innovating, because you're mixing and matching a proven topic with a proven framework. And that's like kind of the least, the least risky way of innovating. And then, I mean, and if you're good at titles, then yeah, like go for it. Try something new. Or if you really understand your audience. But I mean, for the most part, you could have an incredibly successful channel if you only copied, or if you only mixed and matched, proven topics with proven topics in your niche with proven frameworks outside of your niche. You'd probably be super successful. But then, I don't know, maybe 20% of the videos, like just try something crazy, and like, just really like, and that's based on knowing your audience really well. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure people are going to like this. And that comes with time, with, making a bunch of videos, like hanging out in your audience, being, part of your audience, like reading comments, seeing what people like. Then yeah, like, play with things. But, and I think that's potentially where like the big boy views come, is when you like kind of do some interesting, crazy stuff. But it's also where flops happen, and you're going to get way more flops than if you're just trying new crazy stuff. So yeah, I mean, I would try it with like 20% of my videos after I know my audience well, and after I know what makes a good title.
Yeah. And also you could have like maybe a safer backup version, so if it does like start doing really badly, you've got something that's you can swap in.
Yes, 100%. And that applies to both titles and thumbnails. I'll have a safe title, a crazy title, and then also like a safe thumbnail and a crazy thumbnail.
Are there any titles that kind of come to mind which you would say that really kind of stopped you in your tracks, or you're like, wow, this is just really incredible, I've not seen this anywhere before?
So one of my favorite things is, like one of my favorite click triggers. So I'm calling them click triggers, like things like curiosity, fear, desire, lists, a constraint, calling out beginners. Those are all different click triggers that you can use to get people to click. But one of my favorite things recently is being counterintuitive. So luxury fashion is for broke people. I came up on
Hmm.
that title kind of recently, and I love it. It's just like, look, it's not overly like flashy. Like, oh, you'll never believe what this guy said. It's not clickbaity. It's just a very simple statement, but it makes you be like, wait, what? Like, just like kind of challenges your assumptions. Um, I like that a lot. There's another one that was similar.
I heard one recently that was like dumb people are making way more money than you or something like that.
Yes, I love that. I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's it's counterintuitive there. There's like contrast of like, dumb people and making more money. And it just like it kind of makes you mad. It makes you really mad. So that's like it's so emotional. But yeah, I like that a lot. Um, Another one is like world's cheapest. So I'm just like looking at some old newsletters and like world's cheapest turbo kit on a Camry. So like, why would you put a turbo kit on a Camry? Like that doesn't make any sense. That's insane. So yeah, I love being counterintuitive and using contrast.
Hmm.
Um, so like, and here's like another one, like want to be rich, don't start a side hustle.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
like, wait, like, shouldn't you start a side hustle if I want to be rich? So yeah, I love being counterintuitive and using contrast right now. Those are two of my favorites.
Yeah, cool. It's a bit of a random question, I suppose, but like, could you talk a bit about the basketball photo in the background? Are you a fan of basketball?
Yes. Yeah. So that's Michael Jordan's dunk contest when he dunked from the free throw line, and I was like a kid, and I was I was one of those guys who like peaked in middle school. Like I was I was the same height that I am now. I was 5'11" in like sixth grade, so or eighth grade. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm for sure going to the NBA because I was so tall. And then I stopped growing, and then I certainly did not go to the NBA, which is why I'm here talking to you about YouTube titles. But I got this off eBay, and this was like, dude, this might have been in like the 90s. I don't know, like late 90s, early 2000s, and because like I tried to buy it like with my like I tried to get my parents to buy it, but like we couldn't find it, and I was like, oh, it's out of print. Like, this is like a limited edition poster, and I'm sure you can easily find it now. But yeah, I got it like when I was like 8 years old, because I loved MJ, and it's sick. So
Yeah, it's cool. I just saw it was like mid-action.
yeah,
Could be a good thumbnail.
I know, I
It's
know.
top NBA moments or something.
100%. Yeah. Now I feel like I want to write a title for this. But
Yeah. Um, okay, I think we'll start to round up here. Uh, just to kind of finish, do you think you could give us a title for this episode?
yes, so something that people have mentioned, and this might be changing. It's like a little bit weird. Um, I don't think that I have enough credibility for you to drop my name in the title.
Not
So
yet.
like when you're talking about if you're using like for like a podcast, like you can use somebody's name or you can use like their position.
Hmm.
So you could be like, Jake Thomas's tips on how to write a better title. And that might be okay. Somebody did tell me that they specifically searched for my name, and that's how they found a podcast. So this might be changing, but
As you get more famous.
but yeah, as the personal brand grows. However, you could also write like, and this probably isn't true quite yet. I'm trying to make it true, but like, world's best YouTube title writer, shares his biggest secrets or something. And that is one way to like, okay, nobody knows who Jake Thomas is, but like, okay, like best YouTube title writer, like I understand that.
Hmm.
So that's one way to use authority. Um, but that's not quite true. So it could be a little bit clickbaity. I'm trying to be the world's best title writer. So I would probably do. Um, that is a great question.
I mean, that's
I would
probably
look.
fine. I don't know anybody better than you, I don't think.
I mean, dude. So that's an interesting. interesting point. So like a lot of people have like asked me about clickbait, and like if you say that like, oh, like I think he's the best, like then yeah, like it's true for you.
It's my opinion.
And yeah, and I don't think there's anybody else who only focuses on YouTube titles. So you know, so that could be true. So yeah, like you could do that. I would I guess if I would look at like your old other titles and see like what has worked for you in the past. But I would probably talk about like, you know, the biggest secret to writing YouTube titles is this, or you know, why your YouTube channel won't grow unless you fix this. So that like a little bit of warning, a little bit of curiosity there.
Yeah, not even reveal
something-
that it's titles.
Yeah, something like that. And it also depends on like, because you talked about like the awareness of your audience. So like and like kind of like writing like, you know, making like warm thumbnails or like, you know, cold versus warm audience or cold and warm traffic. Like if your title or if your audience knows and like values YouTube titles, then yes, use YouTube titles in the title. But if, you know, we could also just kind of go for like a more broader audience and just talk about like YouTube views. Like, you know, your YouTube channel will stop growing unless you fix this, which is not really focusing on the title, but is more focusing on like the outcome. So yeah, I would probably, I would take all those things into consideration, but yeah, that's something about that.
Yeah, those are good things to consider. Where can people find you? You've got Twitter, website, and anywhere else to go?
That's it. creatorhooks.com and Twitter at jthomas__. Just search for Jake Thomas on Twitter and you'll see a guy with a beard and a dog, and that's me. When I first made my Twitter, I wasn't really taking into consideration like that people would actually like want to like find me on Twitter, because I was like, you know, I was a nobody, and then and now when I'm trying to explain, it's at jthomas__. People are like, wait, what? So anyway, just search Jake Thomas.
Yeah,
and you'll find me.
Or I'll just put it in the description so people just scroll down and click it.
Perfect.
All right, thanks, Jake. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, Owen. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
See ya.